What do you think?
No, I think it looks fine. I don't really care.
Okay.
I really don't.
Okay. So I've been thinking. So me and Leah have been. We went to session 2 days this week, up at the Capitol, and just kind of going through the schedule of the day. Leah loves appropriation committee, so
I don't love appropriations. It's just
love
something
it.
that needs to be listened to
okay.
and watched for.
Well,
So
I mean, she
I
watches it
make
like
it look
she's
like
at a
I love it,
movie.
but I'm just listening to it
Anyways.
because I'm angry when
Yeah.
I watch it.
Appropriations is really early for me, so I tend to miss it. But so just going through the schedule of the day, going to the floor, having lunch, going to committees, and talking to our legislators during that time. And something that I was thinking about while we were up there, and something that we've been discussing actually today, was I wonder if, like, when people think of government, they think of politics. And I think people assume that, to be in the political arena, it's made for a very specific person, like people who are experts in the field of politics and all things government, people who are experts in policy or legislation, and in our country's history or world history. And in order to participate in that arena, you need to have some kind of qualifications to be there. And anyways, while I was up there, I was just thinking, because we were making videos, and I tried to make these videos. I mean, we're not, as you can tell from our videos, we're just very ordinary people. And I really love that because I am no expert. I am still learning while I'm there, even though we've been there for over a decade. Each session is new to me, and I find how the pieces fit a little bit better each time. But I was thinking, if I were somebody watching this, because what I don't want to do is I don't want people to look at this and be like, wow, you're so cool that you know all this stuff. I don't know a lot. I'm really good at asking questions though. And
We do know something. I mean, like we have been studying. So, I mean, it may sound like we know a lot in this, in that, well, I don't know how to say that.
but what I'm saying is that it's just like everything in life. You grow. It's a
We're
growing
still learning.
process.
Yep.
And I'm really grateful for that, because if I had to be an expert, I would never go there. Because I just don't like that expert club. I'm not part of that. I don't want to be someone who feels like they are the expert of something. I always want to be a student. And anyways, one of the thoughts that crossed my mind was, I wonder if people think that we're like studying all the time. I wonder if people think that we're just always looking at legislation and always, interacting with our legislators and in preparation for legislative session or in preparation for elections or like da 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 da. And I was just thinking, I wanted to talk about like my preparation for session and what that looks like for me. And I think a lot of people would be surprised to hear that my preparation starts at home. It doesn't start on the le.utah.gov website or congress.gov or senate.gov or the house.gov. My preparation starts in the home, and it starts with my morning prayers and my evening prayers. It starts with me trying to do the dishes in the morning and make sure that my family has access to clean utensils and something to eat on. My preparation is with taking care and being a good steward of the people that I live with and that I love first. Like, even get to the bills and to policy. Like, I will get to those, and I don't always get to those until later. But preparation is a lot more simple than people think. And I was just wanting to talk about that because I have beef with the expert caucus, the expert lobby, because I feel like a lot of Americans don't participate because they may feel like they are not worthy to be there.
Not even that they're not worthy, but they are so intimidated by the idea of civic engagement. I mean, because they think it's politics and it's all so many different things.
Yeah.
Civic
Like
engagement.
The first time I spoke in committee was, I don't remember what it was, but I will always remember it because the chair of the committee, I'm a questions person, and I didn't know the rules of the committee. I didn't know that you weren't allowed to ask questions in your public comment, which is why I've been talking about that a lot. And anyways, this particular year, I can't remember what the bill was exactly. I think they were trying to increase the penalty for someone who even pretends that there is a bomb on campus. Like if they just like make a fake, like that it's not true, and they did that intentionally as a joke to increase the penalty for that. And so I asked questions in my public comment, and the chair just reprimanded me in front of everyone. It was so embarrassing. It was so embarrassing to me because I didn't know the rules. They weren't posted anywhere. This was my first time speaking in committee. And I wished that the chair would have taken the time to teach me and instruct me instead of use his authority to make an example of what not to do.
Oh, hold on.
Nice.
Okay, continuing.
And so, anyways, so it can be intimidating, but, and after that, like, did I want to go and speak in committee right after that? No. Did it make me, want to learn more about the rules and their own tikanga in the committee? Yes. And it also made me want to share that with other people so that they know, like, hey, you're not going to find these rules on the wall. Some chairs will allow you to ask questions and some, like this one, won't. So just so you know. And, but I still, and so that was years ago. And now, I mean, that still happens to me. Like I've shared this year, I've been dinged a couple times by some of the chairs. But I go because I'm there for my family and I'm representing them and I want to represent them well. And so even if it's scary or intimidating, I'm still going to take that step into uncertainty. And then now I know. And because I know, I'm now accountable not just to the next time, but I want to help the next person who may feel like the same way, or who it is their first time speaking in committee and they don't know the rules. And anyways, so what are some ways that you prepare for session, or even whatever this arena is?
How do I prepare? To be honest, I don't do a very good job of preparing. I mean, because I'm naturally an anxious person. So I'm always just looking, is it up yet? Is the bill up yet? Or what's going on? So I'm looking kind of on the daily, but if the bill is interesting to me, I'll read it. If it's not interesting, I'll just kind of pass. Kind of like when you're on Instagram and you just scroll past some things if it's not that interesting to you. But if something catches my eye, I will pay attention to it. Generally speaking, I'm inclined to look at everything, at every bill, because I do care about the principles of freedom for everybody, not just for specific areas. But this year or this session, we're doing things a little bit differently. You want to talk about that?
Just our approach.
Because you've been doing that well.
Yeah. Well, before I talk about that, I just want to hammer home that, like, what you're doing at home right now in your everyday life is preparation. And that's enough. Like, you taking care of your home and governing your home, the first government, teaching your kids how to take care of their toys, doing their chores, learning how to share. That has to do with negotiation, that has to do with stewardship over resources, that has to do with consequence. And that preparation, if you don't get that preparation right, you're going to be a poor legislator, or you're not going to be able to recognize the nuance in when you're lawmaking and to make that connection of accountability and integrity.
I guess what she's trying to say in a nutshell is that the I don't know if it's the politics of government or good governance begins at home.
Yeah.
It's easier to recognize principles of freedom and the principles that matter by the things that we're doing at home, because they apply in the state capitol.
Yeah.
The things that we learn. Common sense would teach us some things, but yeah.
And that to me is really important, because when you watch session, you see these people speaking on the floor or speaking in committee, and you're like, wow, they're so eloquent in their speech. They know exactly what's going on. I'm like, no, they're just learning in real time as well. And I think it's kind of unfair that, there's this expectation put on our leadership to look like they know everything. And I don't expect my leader to know everything. And I don't want to put that burden on them, because that's also my responsibility. And my sister just made the comment today of leadership and the journey towards leadership. And
I'll say that. I want to talk about that. I think that there are some times that people, when they're running for office, and this has just been my observation, I'm not saying that it's the way that it is. I really do believe that there are those who care about the principles of freedom. And there are also many, many people who I personally know who would do an insanely amazing job at the state legislature or even at the federal level, and they don't run. They don't run.
You know someone like that?
Yeah. If you don't,
maybe
they don't
that's
run.
You.
Yeah, could be. But they have an incredible amount of knowledge about the principles of freedom, and they're actively teaching people the principles of freedom now. They're not doing it where, kind of like when I just think of the motivational speakers, the life coaches that are just out there and about and just, live your best life. Everything is awesome. They're not giving slogans or anything like that. They're actually just quietly doing their work and making a huge difference, truly making a huge difference at the most basic level, which is the home, which is where it matters. But then there are those who want to be, who are out there and who do a good job. There are some really, really great legislators, and there are some who are bad actors. But sometimes when I see people running for office, I get that cringy feeling of, oh, it's another one of those, I don't know how to, rally up for all these good things, and they're not. But at their core, they know very little about the principles of freedom. They don't actively use that in their home and live it and try to do a good job with that, but they make it sound like they're doing great.
Yeah, and that's actually really disheartening to me, because nuance is not something you can learn from a textbook. Being able to recognize the difference between liberty and freedom and and other is like a muscle that you have to exercise. And that's why I just pointed back to what you do every day is the gym, is the preparation, because that's where you learn the small and simple things. And when you learn the small and simple things and you become a lifelong student of that, you are able, when it comes to legislation, to recognize the small and simple things that are out of place.
Have you ever noticed someone who has, like they are a person, like on the personality scale, they're incredible. They are charming. They know how to get people to love them. They're all good. But when it comes to making really crucial decisions that affect lives, and even affect principles of freedom, they choke. They don't know how to think. They go with the crowd because they don't know. That's a concern to me.
Yeah.
So it's not enough just to be a charming person, to be a personality. A personality is not freedom.
Yeah.
In my view.
Yeah, and I think our current definition of a leader is someone who does. I don't even think principles is even equated with our current definition of leader. It is that charismatic.
Yeah, charisma.
Great.
The Riz.
Great orator or whatever. But when it comes to understanding the difference between bondage and liberty, it's off balance.
I remember someone asking me this question a long time ago. She just said, it's really great that people are wanting to become, really educated, that they take all these accelerated learning classes. It's so great that your child is learning how to spell and how to, to do all these great things at the ages of 3 and 5. And, at a really young level, we determine our children's successes by their accomplishments. But then she asked me a question. She said, when it comes down to it, would they be able to choose the right in a situation where, that's not an education people are taught for these days, to choose the right, not to bend on your principles, what you know to be true, what you know to be valuable, not just to you, but to not just to me and to you, but to our families and to those who live around us. That's huge.
Well, and the implication there is, because I have issue with like the right, especially here in Utah Mormon culture, because they're like, this is what the right is. And actually the right is between me and God. And, he definitely has like, don't kill your people, don't kill my people, don't envy, don't covet, like those things. But I think that like that skill set is not, like we don't acknowledge that skill set. And it becomes like, that's nice, that's a luxury, but we need to get the job done.
Yeah.
And having to go back to like having those discussions about the small and simple things, it's going to take too long. And it takes too long because people in our current culture, and this is just, in the world today, we are instant gratification, and instant gratification doesn't allow for the conversations of the small and simple things, which on the long perspective, the small and simple things last longer. You'll be full longer. And not only that, but you will have food for the future generations, not just for now, and then we'll figure out what to do with them later. Yeah.
The unintended consequences. I remember a Vietnamese restaurant, one of my favorite Vietnamese restaurants in my area. There's a sign that and I'm sure many have seen this. Have seen this saying before, but it's good food is not fast. And fast food is not good. I just thought that was interesting. We can't be doing things fast just because expediency requires it. Doesn't necessarily mean that the principles allow for that expediency all the time.
Yeah.
We're always in a state of, which is why I go to therapy, because of the anxiety, because of the expediency. It's like, can we slow things down and think? It's so important.
Yeah, well, and I think that government is very fast food driven. you know, and also because that's the culture today where we're like, we need those funds today. And so we're
And it is your job to get me the funds today.
And because it's not compassionate to delay and to have the conversations necessary that would, you know, to deem if this is even fiscally responsible. We don't have that, like, you know, because we need to eat food today. People are starving today now. You can figure that out in the next generation or the next legislative session.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to make a quick share a quick story. So my sister would just made the point today of like leadership, and it just seems like to me that everybody's always fighting for that leadership position, and I don't really know why. I don't know what's so great about being a leader, to be honest, and I think it's because like I naturally just want to be in the background, and I just come from a strong line of really
people in the back,
of staunch women and men who hold the back really well.
Yeah.
I love to be in the kitchen. I love to be in the background. I hate because when you're in the front, you have to smile and talk to people, and I don't have strong cheek muscles. I don't smile for long periods. I can only go like for so long in conversations, and in the back we get work done. Okay. And we eat at the same time while everybody's waiting for us to bring the food out. But so she just made this comment about like you have to start at the bottom to get to the top, and I don't think that, and you can say what you were going to say, but I think that it reminded me of our cousin Daniel. We love you, Daniel.
Yes, cuz.
So Daniel went to school and got a degree in hospitality. And he was saying, so he was working at a hotel, and he was a manager, I don't know what the title is, of everybody on the hotel to make sure that the hotel, the staff, the rooms, the whatever inventory needed to be, you know, stocked, to make sure they had soap and towels and all the things. Like he was over all of that. And he said, before I came that, I was like the sweeper. And I started at the most bottom entry level in this hotel, and then I went to the next, and then I went to the next, and then the next, and the next, and next. And he's like, when I got to my leadership position, I was the best that they ever had because I understood every single position beneath me. I understood why this had to be done at this time. I understood why we had to order whatever materials we needed at certain times, and he could go and do it himself if it needed to get done in real time. He didn't go and order somebody else to go do it because it was beneath him, because he is now in leadership position. He did it. And
so question then, so what is the groundwork that you're talking about?
It's the soil.
What's the soil you're talking about?
The soil is where principles, that's where we understand and learn from principles. And if a leader just goes straight up to the top of, you know, like the branches or whatever, and you don't have that soil foundation, you won't last. And not only that, that's really dangerous for the people who are depending on you, because you have, in my understanding, you have chicken legs. You are trying to carry the weight and burden of responsibility, but you actually haven't put in the work for that. And
so what's the work in this space?
The small and simple things. What you see me and my sister doing up at the Capitol is because of the small and simple things. It's not because we went straight to the branches and because we're so cool and love being up there and people can see us and like whatever. No, it's because every day we try to take care of the things that we are accountable to in our own government, in our own homes, and accountable to the people in our own lives.
Do I do a good job? No, not always. So, yeah. And
it just really quickly, it also reminded me of this experience that I had when I went home to Tauranga. The last time I was home, I was with Moni in 2020, and we went out on the waka with our family.
Which is?
The waka, it's an outrigger.
Canoe.
Yeah. And So we went out on our moana, tauranga moana.
The water.
And so we went out with our cousins. We had our auntie in the waka with us. I think Moni was in the middle of the canoe. We had our cousin Ngawai at the back of the canoe steering, and I was in the front. And I hated being in the front because the person in the front is hitting that water first before anyone behind you. And hitting the water first is like hitting concrete. It was so hard. It was a workout that I did not ask for. And I actually thought, man, I think my ancestors would have thrown me out of the waka because I would have held them back. But it was so interesting to me because here I'm at the head of the waka and I am hitting concrete as hard as I could. And I knew that I needed to put in my effort. Otherwise, my cousin behind me, my baby cousin behind me, would have to take on the full force of what I didn't do.
Well, I would just tell you that we also went on a waka when we went in 2018. We went on...
Wait.
No. And our cousin that was in the back was actually doing all the work for all of us. We were the useless crew in the front and in the middle. We didn't do any... Oh, no, it was Naomi.
Oh,
we didn't do anything. We really didn't do anything. She was doing all the work. And I would like to think we were doing good because it's wow, we're moving. We're just doing so great. And I'm picking up my oar and I'm looking around. It's we're still moving in such a great direction. And I knew I had nothing to do with that, which is...
That's interesting.
I mean, imagine being the one in the very back, the rudder, the one who's supposed to be also, determining where, how it all goes, but doing everyone's work.
Yeah. I love that that perspective too. So I feel just using that example, I feel when I look at government and politics, it seems like everybody is trying to be in the front. Because I don't know, there's just something about being that leader again that just seems that's so cool to people, and I don't really know why. But being in the front is hard, and it was so hard for me, in fact, that I did not even look up to see where we were going. I was fighting for my life to try and keep in rhythm with because you have somebody there's a certain cadence that everybody is rowing at. You don't want everybody rowing at a different cadence, and so when I look at the leadership today, it's off balance that everybody wants to be in the front. They want to be, and I don't know why, because it's one of the most difficult positions to have. There's no fanfare and confetti when you're at the front of the canoe. It is so hard. You have the person in the middle who is telling everybody when to switch sides, move your paddle to the other side so that you don't burn out this shoulder, and making sure that they do that so that the whole canoe doesn't fatigue on one side of their shoulder because they've been rowing on that same shoulder. And then you have the person in the back who's watching closely to make sure we're not hitting any reefs, that we're not hitting any other canoes on the water, who's making sure that we're going in a direction that is safe and calm, that we're not going to hit any choppy waters or currents. And we don't have that balance in government. We have this off-balance waka where everybody is fighting for the front of the canoe, and it's so off-balance that you have these groups of people in the front, and then the rest of the canoe is just going crazy back and forth because you don't have...
maybe just going in circles.
Yeah. Yeah. And
just paddling. And
it's frustrating to me because I think that leadership position is also is it's romanticized, and it's if I'm not in that position, then those if I were in the middle or if I were in the back, those aren't worthy positions to have. But not only are they worthy, but they're necessary. There would be no leader without the followers in the back. And in fact, the person in the back is the one that's guiding the canoe.
The one in the back is the actual leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to make a case for all of the positions in the canoe. We're all necessary. and each position is equally difficult.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the front because like my shoulder blades were burning, and my cousin behind me was younger than me, and I didn't want to like disappoint her.
But let's admit that you did disappoint her. It's fine. It's fine. Not why we're so sorry.
I was just trying to be like a good like older cousin example. I don't know if I really did that, but
I think I would like to say that at the legislative level, I don't think that everyone is in the front, but the fight for, like when it comes to campaigning, everyone wants to be in the front. And then once they get into the front, there are some that don't do anything at all. They just kind of coast in the boat, which is frustrating, merely because they've been there for a long time.
Yeah.
Or anyone that's been there a long time.
Yeah.
Or because they come in and then they don't know anything about what they're doing. They're just learning the ropes. And so it would be helpful to have some experience, and not just some, but a lot is good. I mean, some experience is good. A lot of experience is better.
Yeah. I guess I'm just hopeful for future leaders that understand the importance of the journey there, and that when you get there, you're not meant to stay there. Meaning like the student is like the master is still a student.
Yeah.
Like a true master, and to me there's a difference between a master and an expert. An expert has capped themselves. That's
not just capped themselves, but they have
they have
Can you imagine?
arrived.
Well, no,
Okay.
but yes. Well, not only have they arrived, but they are discounting the middle and the back. It's like,
Yeah.
here, I'm at the front. Oh, go ahead. You can go ahead and just row all by yourself.
Yeah.
You go ahead and do that. You and your big, strong arms, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's a tiring thing to do. We can't work without each other.
Yeah.
We need each other. We need everyone.
And every position is important. And I'm not trying to poo-poo on, the leadership that we have in government. But it's just been interesting to like, whenever you get around the political arena, there's just a lot of posturing and pomp. But I think that that's also because I think that that's just a reflection of people and their insecurities. And so they are overcompensating.
Oh, those are dangerous words to say.
Yeah, I think it is. People overcompensate because, they feel the pressure to look like they know everything and to be an expert. When I just want somebody to say like, hey, I'm learning alongside with you. What have you found? Let's do this together. Like, I don't expect the person at the front of the waka to pull us all.
But at the same time, like understanding that there is a purpose for being in the boat too. There's, like if we're just fighting just to get in the boat, cool. To get in the canoe, cool. But like, is there a direction? Is there a plan?
Yeah.
For it all, other than just to sit in the boat and look pretty? We are not, who wants that?
Yeah. Well, and I just made the comment the other day, which is why I love Washington and Jefferson so much, because even after leadership, like after Washington's first term, he wanted to go home. He wanted to go back to his estate and to take care of his family and to, his own personal private welfare. And I just love that, like I don't want leaders that are comfortable leading. I think that that's off balance. Fellowship and leadership are contingent on one another. One isn't greater than the other. You can't have one without the other. And the mana of both are necessary. They're actually the same thing. So anyways, practice those. Keep being a student of those small and simple things at home. Govern your home. And we hope to see you at the state legislature. Ka kite ano o falahi atu.
Ka kite ano o falahi atu.